Right, joined now by Dr. Steven Kuo, Senior Lecturer at the Wits University in International Relations. Dr. Steven, good to have you. Thank you very much for coming on this afternoon. Suppose it's not as easy as just getting out of Washington and cutting all ties as Kosatu would like to have it. However, we have seen President Donald Trump's style of diplomacy, at least in the few weeks that he's been in office, and it's one that could be described as transactional, almost like, high-stake business deal, where his number one goal is always to come out on top. Does South Africa have leverage in this particular negotiation?
Thank you for having me. So it seems to me this ought to be a moment for South Africa to reflect on our own foreign policy. It seems to me this is not an isolated incident. It's been building up. I had written for Business Day, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. During Trump's first presidency, Trump had called out South Africa then that out of the 10 countries that has the highest number of no votes against the United States in the UN, South Africa is amongst them. So South Africa has, over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, taken a very, very anti-US approach. And it's finally coming back to, as it were, South Africa is reaping what we sow. As far as, so I'm taking a different angle, looking at what's going on with the Ambassador Rousseau episode. Yeah. I think it's been going on for a long time. It's not an isolated incident.
Right. Now, of course, the approach with South Africa so far has not been, it seems, about friendship or even trying to understand, as you put it. Ambassador Rousseau has been for weeks trying to secure some critical meetings, and he has downright been ignored by the U.S. administration. And we have seen, of course, how tweets have been going around about really, really bad things happening in South Africa. It tells you that, as far as Donald Trump is concerned, we are not allies of the United States, at least. We don't seem to be. So he's using hard power. We are still using the soft touch in how we are approaching this. Are we likely going to come off second best in this tussle?
Look, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to international relations, it always must be the national interest of the country that comes first, right? So South Africa needs to, as it were, play the game. We are a middle power. We are far less strong to the United States. To be honest, we need the United States more than the US needs South Africa, right? And we can see this right across now, whether it's the French president, the British prime minister that's working really hard to placate Donald Trump, or even the president of Ukraine, who has now come around. So my view is South Africa needs to play ball. It is South Africa's national interest, which is our trading interest, which to a lesser extent our security interest. So in many ways, those of us in the academic community, we've been complaining about the ANC foreign policy for a very long time. The ANC foreign policy has not, it seems to many of us, put South Africa's economic interest first. It has been putting ANC's ideological concerns first. So my view is that it's about time that the GNU recalibrated and that we sat down and thought about how are we going to work with the Trump administration, rather than crying foul, rather than crying over sour milk, when South Africa its foreign policy towards the US has been very, very anti-US for the last at least decade. Yeah. So I don't personally feel bad for South Africa. I personally think South Africa needs to take a new approach. The government of national unity needs to think about things and take a new approach. And we need to walk away from this old super ideological ANC focused foreign policy.
However, others would then say that action, or even the actions of the Trump administration so far, are shaping a foreign policy that could be problematic even to allies. I mean, it's a foreign policy that doesn't even guarantee NATO members that they will be defended by Trump, but it is also one that is seemingly more inward-looking and really conscious of the bottom line.
Indeed. And so every single capital around the world, everybody is going back to the drawing board, including the traditional allies, as you mentioned, the EU, Australia, Canada. They're all going back to the drawing board, as well as the other middle powers. We need to deal with the US for what it is, rather than what we wish the US to be, right? The HIV, AIDS, drugs, aid has been withdrawn. Looks like the relationship is going to be rocky for quite a long time. So but then as we saw on what I think was Friday, the European Union is now reaching out to South Africa to trying to build new alliances. So if Donald Trump administration is going to, if you like, shuffle the deck of cards, then South Africa needs to be ready to put South Africa's national interests first and to, if you like, play the game the best we can.
Yeah, play the game the best we can, and winning doesn't seem to be an option here. But can we at least survive this particular storm?
I think we will survive the storm. I have been thinking about this for quite a while, as far as South Africa's relationship with BRICS countries, as well as Western countries. It seems to me the way to do it is for the government of national unity to send an ambassador that most likely cannot be from the ANC. And we have examples of this. For example, the DA leader, Tony Leung, was sent in the early 2000s, or was the late 2000s, to Argentina as an ambassador. So if we want to work with the Trump administration, my view is do not send another ANC cadre. Send somebody from the DA or send somebody from the Freedom Front Plus. They are part of the government, and they are patriots, and they need to advocate for South African foreign policy. That's my view.
Dr. Steven Kuo, appreciate your time, Senior Lecturer at the Wits University on International Relations.